So yes, let's begin with the fact we were all hoping for new iPads, but Apple gave us a pencil instead. Now obviously the question on everyone's mind at this point is, when are we gonna see the iPad Air release? Well, I have some bad news, guys. I don't think it's releasing anytime soon. You see, I was hoping that if we don't see new iPads in October, we could see new models in November instead. We have had press releases in November in the past, and maybe the new iPads aren't ready yet, but the thing is, the new pencil is actually also not ready yet. It's only available from November to buy, so basically, if Apple had any new iPads to release, they would have released by now. And so it seems Quo's gonna be right, and this will be the first year since 2010 where we don't get new iPads. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this, it would be appreciated. So if it's not releasing this year, then when will it be released? Well, I could see a spring launch for some new iPads. That's usually when Apple gives us minor spec bumps, which this iPad Air very much is gonna be, and so yes, there's going to be a wait, but I guess it's not the saddest news in the world considering this will be a very pointless refresh, in my opinion. Anyways, let's now move on to the possibility of a larger iPad Air in the works. I recently discussed this because 9to5Mac had told us this was in the works, and now Digitimes corroborates with them on this, though they share no other details apart from that. They state the obvious by claiming it won't get mini LED, but honestly anybody could have guessed that. We wanted some idea on the release date, but they say nothing. Now regarding the idea of a larger iPad Air, I'll be honest guys, I'm personally not a fan of this, but I can see Timothy doing this. We've recently been seeing Apple introduce a larger size option to many of their mid-range products. Take for example the iPhone 14 and 15 Plus, and of course the 15-inch MacBook Air. So yes, a new 12.9-inch iPad Air could of course be the next step. Unlike the other larger mid-range products though, I really don't want this to be a thing because, frankly speaking, the iPad range is a mess right now. There are frankly too many options that offer similar features, and introducing yet another iPad is not going to fix things. If anything, I would rather they simplify the range and get rid of some models. You see, I was fine with a 15-inch MacBook Air or the iPhone 15 Plus because there are clear differences between the regular and Pro models, and the lineups are very easy to understand. With the iPad though, considering the software is so limited on the Pros anyways, I always found the Air and Pro to be way too similar and there just wasn't enough differences between these products, and so adding a new size option that's going to be even closer in price to the 11-inch iPad Pro is not the right move. Don't get me wrong, I do think introducing a non-Pro large-sized iPad is a good idea, but I don't think it should be based on the iPad Air. Instead, it should be a larger version of the base iPad. Because if it was based on the Air, it could be somewhere between $699 to $750, which isn't really affordable if you think about it, and you're much better off getting a refurbished iPad Pro. However, if this is based on a base iPad, it would be significantly cheaper. But at the same time, part of the reason Apple's given us a 15-inch MacBook Air and the iPhone 15 Plus is to upsell you to the Pro models because they are closer in price, and so maybe that's their plan with this larger iPad Air, especially since there aren't many good reasons to buy the iPad Pro instead. Now I do want to mention, unlike Digitimes, 9to5Mac did not explicitly tell us it was going to be a larger size, and so based on this, I saw someone on Twitter theorize that maybe the new size actually is a replacement for the iPad mini, so from now on, the iPad Air comes in two sizes, which would be 8.3 inches and 10.9 inches, and they would be updated at the same time. That would fix a lot of the confusion I see online where people wonder why the iPad mini is more expensive than the base iPad, when it's not really a smaller version of the base iPad, and so rebranding it as a smaller iPad Air could make things clearer for consumers, but considering we've heard about an iPad mini 7 in the works, I have my doubts. Alternatively, I've seen some say that because the iPad Pros are getting more expensive because of OLED and could now be something ludicrous like $1,500, that of course could now make space for a larger iPad Air. But I'll be honest, I never bought those rumors. We all know iPads are limited by their software, so why would someone spend that much on an iPad just because it has a fancy OLED display. I'm sure most would buy a Mac instead for that kind of money, and so yes, I doubt the price hikes are going to be that bad. So yes, ultimately, I strongly believe we don't need this larger iPad Air in the range, though I guess without it, Apple has a very boring refresh to market. All we've heard is that they're going to be chucking the M2 motherboard from the iPad Pro into the Air's chassis, and boom, you have your refresh. That's basically it. And so in a way, this feels akin to the iPhone XS and iPhone 14 in that the main thing they'll have to market is the new size, because there's really not much else to talk about, since M2 is not going to be a game-changing update performance-wise. But if you're not too interested in this larger size, I would not wait for this refresh. We are potentially still months away from the M2 iPad Air, so yes, we are potentially still months away from the iPad Air 6 releasing, and there's really nothing with iPadOS right now that's going to utilize the additional performance. Heck, it's not even fully utilizing M1 right now, and yes, I know someone in the comments is gonna mention, what about support bro? M2's newer, so it's gonna get longer support, right? And yeah, that is true, that is a good point. But M1 is not losing support anytime soon. Apple's still supporting A10 iPads, so I would 100% advise literally every one of you guys to buy the M1 iPad Air instead. If you're a spec nerd who wants to flex high Geekbench numbers, then sure, wait for this M2 iPad Air, but realistically guys, M1's more than fine for iPadOS for the foreseeable future. Also remember, the M1 iPad Air is old enough where it's already getting significant discounts. Here in the UK you can find it for sub £500, I'm sure this also applies to the US and other countries, and so for bargain hunters like myself, the current Air is the better deal, and also if you really want that bigger size, do remember that for one, rumors can be wrong at the end of the day, but also you can probably find M1 iPad Pros for around the same price as the hypothetical 12.9-inch Air right now. Yes, you won't get the newest chipset, but as we already know with the M2 Max, they are only slightly better performance-wise, and as I said, M1's gonna be plenty fine for iPadOS, plus you get quad speakers, mini LED 120Hz, and also Face ID, so yes, go with that instead. And if I'm being honest, the upgrades we would ideally want with a future iPad Air already exist with the iPad Pro, which brings me back to my earlier point regarding too much overlap with iPads. The range is convoluted, and so there really needs to be more differentiation in the range. It's time Apple justifies the Pro branding with the iPad Pros by giving it more features from macOS for Pro workflows, and that alone is going to get many to buy the iPad Pros. You don't need to upsell them by introducing new models. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.